Her target population was the group of people known as the squatters, and later as the Rhiners. These folks lived in pieced-together buildings on swampy land no one else wanted near the inlet and the railroad tracks. The men among them lived by fur trapping, fishing, occasional and seasonal day labor, and by running gambling games and making whiskey. They had frequent collisions with those who would enforce the new fish and game laws and other regulations. The younger women were expected to do whatever they could to make a few dollars. In an era when employment for women was extremely limited and only the decently dressed need apply, there were few options. Writer Grace Miller White wrote tear-jerking but reasonably accurate novels about these people and the attitude of class warfare that prevailed among them. Her heroine Tess had all kinds of abilities but was limited by her poverty and lack of early privilege. It is interesting to note that White, who wrote in 1904, did not refer to the Rhine, but to squatters and the squatter community when describing her characters. The Rhine label appears to have come into use at a later time, possibly after World War I, when returning soldiers either thought that the inlet looked like the European River or compared the area to a combat zone. However, sometimes the Rhine dwellers got even. Cockfighting was among the amusements enjoyed by young men of all classes in the 90s. Cornell fraternities had cock runs adjacent to their houses stocked with imported French birds. Fights were staged at various locations, including the basement of the Ezra Cornell Mansion, Lenrock. Ezra's grandson, young Charlie Blair, was very much the model of a sporting gent of his era. His parents had the 19th century equivalent of a divorce. Mrs. Blair and her children lived with her mother and sisters in the family mansion, and her husband practiced law in New York City. Young Charlie grew up and entered the university. Apparently, he and his friends sought a larger venue than the campus or Charlie's basement offered for staging fights. Charlie's uncle had built a canning factory in the West End, and the business had failed, as so many Cornell family businesses did. Charlie obtained the keys to the building and invited the Rhiners and his Cornell crowd to a major event with birds from both groups competing. Amid the fumes of kerosene lanterns, cigar smoke, chickens, unwashed people, and alcohol, the excitement peaked and the bets were passed. Then someone ran in the door shouting that a squad of police was on their way. Someone else blew out the lamps. People and birds fled out windows and doors. It is said that gowned professors as well as students were seen swimming and wading the icy inlet that March night to avoid the embarrassment of facing gambling charges. However, it is also said that the cry of raid was staged and that several of the Rhiners lingered to gather up both the cash and the best of the surviving cocks. It is further said that these aristocratic birds were kidnapped not for the cooking pots of the Rhine, but to improve the local breed, and that their descendants fought on for many years. The losers, though, were definitely destined for soup.